Nazan Artun, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
And we're going to get started in a few minutes here. So I'm just going to wait a few minutes to let folks start to jump on. If you're watching, feel free to let us know if you can hear us and say hi and let us know where you're watching from. I love to know where everybody's watching from. Yesterday, actually not yesterday, the day before, we had some people from, I think, the UK and stuff like that. And you're located in, remind me.
I'm living in Boston.
Okay, awesome. So you're pretty local. I'm in New York, so
Yeah.
we're both on Eastern time. Um,
Right.
so yeah, so let us know where you're watching from, or if you're watching the replay, let us know where you're watching from then as well. But and if at any point you have any questions for either one of us, we're here. And thank you. Anna Maria is from Florida. So we've got somebody from, we've got someone from India. That's awesome. Thank you for watching. This is really, really great. So,
I'm also trying to share on my profile,
yeah.
so that's why
Uh-huh.
you can lose me for.
Here from California. Thank you for joining us. Wow. All right. Another Florida. That's great. So, yeah, take your time, start sharing. And Atlanta, wonderful. So we're going to get started in just a moment from here. Hi, Paget. Awesome. Hi, Michael. This is great. Wow. Um, cool. So this actually you're on at a great time because this is the end of the first week of LinkedIn Live for me. So I'm really glad you're here, and I'm so happy that you were able to join me. And thank you to everyone who's watching. Um, so, all right, cool. So, Nazan, how do you take your coffee? And if you don't drink coffee, how do you start your day?
I drink coffee. I'm a coffee addict, but I have a different ritual. I'm originally from Turkey, so I start my day with Turkish tea, actually, and then I drink coffee around noontime. If I'm at home, I prepare myself a delicious sugar-free Turkish coffee. Hopefully, I can serve you in the future if
Hmm.
you could be my guest. But if I'm working at office, I usually have my coffee with coconut milk or like black. I try to not use sugar. So, but I do at least one cup of coffee. And according to science, it's good to have at least one cup of coffee daily. Yeah,
It is. It's good for your heart. There's, lots of benefits to coffee. So,
yeah.
it's funny. I'm a coffee addict. I've, tried giving it up several times during my life, and you hear all the, I feel like nobody can decide if it's good for you or bad for you, but I've heard the benefits. So, welcome, fellow coffee drinker.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about like finding the balance, right? It's just if you don't consume in excessive amounts, I think everything is good, and like it depends on the dose. As a pharmacist, I could tell if you just can have the amount that you can enjoy, and your body wouldn't get harm of it. So it's
Right.
only good to have one cup of coffee a day. Yeah, go for it.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. From a pharmacist. So the official word is that coffee is good for you,
Yeah.
and especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're working long hours, no shame in getting a little help. You know. So yeah, and so JL's from Seattle, and she said Julie Lynn Try says, really, I'm the one in Seattle that doesn't drink coffee. So no shame in not drinking coffee, but but from a pharmacist, we hear that there's health benefits. So Nazan, tell us where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. What are you up to these days? And yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, sure. I'm at the beginning stage of my entrepreneurship because I wasn't planning to establish my own business, to be honest. And just I found myself in the middle of it because that idea came with the need to help people in my field, and I saw a need. That's why. And when I talk about that, it's career coaching. But I would like to give a kind of a summary about my background. Why I take career coaching is also kind of important and meaningful for me because I'm a pharmacy PhD, a singer, songwriter, guitar player, and a career coach. So I kind of struggled in my career because my entrance to like medical field was tailored by my father, who's a surgeon, and he really wanted me to become a medical professional, and that's why he encouraged me to become an MD, and he was taking me with himself to his OR days. He's a surgeon, and I think in one of those days he saw that I didn't pass out. I was actually able to survive till the end, even like while seeing 3 people cut from their bellies, and like I was still interested in it. So he thought, okay, I'm just gonna pass my legacy and to her, so she will continue. But I was a very creative and child, and I was a dreamer, Marie, because you're born with it. So that career that he was trying to tailor for me was a mismatch with my personal identity. So that's why I had to still pick the field that my parents were picking for me, and the best second option was to become a pharmacist. But then I didn't want to give up on my dreams, so I picked the music for myself, but I kind of hid it from them for a long time. So all of a sudden I had these 2 professional careers, which was like being a pharmacist and PhD, and later on, and then being a musician, singer, songwriter. And then this kind of gave me the experience of trying to find my place in work life, and it was really challenging to find a balance, because I tried to quit pharmacy and it didn't work out. I tried to quit music, it didn't work out. It was really hurtful for me. So I did a lot of exploration. But then there was another crossroad in my career, which when I felt like I figured how to do them both. And when I was in Turkey, and then I just found myself in Boston, because I moved to Boston and I had to start all over again. So I had to start to my career, even though I had a very established career in Turkey. So it's like, again, I found myself in this journey, and then it's like, being in a new environment, I had to adapt to the culture, and I had to get my credentials, but still I needed to be a musician in Boston too. So all these challenges, I think, prepared me to become a support person for people who are struggling in their careers. And I came to this realization in my professional life in Boston, because in the beginning I was really, as an immigrant, I was just focusing on myself and my needs, because I had to survive. It's like like in Maslow's pyramid, I was starting from the basic need, like shelter, food, I might say. But then when I started to climb on that pyramid, I was becoming able to support other people in their needs and to serve for other people. And then when I was helping people, I became like a natural mentor. And that's how it started. It's just I think it's inspired from my life, and then I found myself naturally filling that position of support person for people, young adults, new grads, because I used to teach at a college too, to be a support person for people who are struggling in their careers. So then I started to coach people. Then I realized that, okay, I really enjoy this, and I feel the meaning in it, and that's really important. As a career coach, that's the first thing that we say to our clients. So then I realized that, okay, I want to do this professionally. Then I started to pursue certificates and more credentials, and pursue for mentors who are in the field. So that's how my journey started. But I'm still this whole process, even it takes years. But it took years to come here, but still it's kind of new as an entrepreneurship.
That's fantastic. So you and I have a very similar background, and so I don't know that a lot of people know this about me, but I actually have a biology degree. I have my Bachelor of Arts in Biology. Similar reasons. I graduated high school early, and my mom was like, "You got to do something practical. You really have to do something practical." I went school at 16, and I discovered I just wasn't happy. So by the time I decided I wanted to do music, I double majored, all this stuff, right? From music to entrepreneurship. And the thing that everybody says to me, and I wonder if they say this to you as well, is really? Like, you know, to go from pharmaceuticals, right, from medicine to music seems like such a non sequitur, right? It seems like, well, how do you have both right brain and left brain abilities, and you know, how does that work, and how could you be interested in both? Can you talk a little bit about that? How do the two fit in your life?
In early stages, I was hiding each personality from each side.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I even like make this joke, like I was Dr. Artun and during daytime, and becoming like a Miss like Artun, or like a Nazan is my stage name in the evening, because people were struggling to accept the other identity, and I was feeling like an outcast.
Yep.
It was like, you know, in science, when they become aware of my like musicianship, they were like, so they were questioning my skills. That's what I'm trying to say. But when musicians were learning about my scientist background, they were all of a sudden like, again, judging me in some ways. So I became like, okay, I need to be careful, so I'm just going to separate these two identities. But in time, I realized that actually both helped me. So like both gave me different skills that I could use in two different fields. For example, being a musician boosts your creativity and your critical thinking and strategic thinking, and I do a lot of improvisation. So it's like, you know, it helped me in my work life to be able to give quick decisions, because like in healthcare, you always work in like stressful environment. There are times that you really need to give critical decisions. So I use that like, you know, skill in healthcare settings. But in terms of like, you know, the discipline that you gain from the science and medical field was also helpful for me to be disciplined in my music too, because creative people can be sometimes, like, I'm not judging, and again, this is not coming from a judgmental point of view, but sometimes they can be like distracted easily. Yeah. So that's why I was like able to focus on my music and create a discipline for myself to be able to succeed in both fields. Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. And you know, by the way, you're not wrong about that, right? Like to have both sides, you can take the discipline from science or from entrepreneurship, right? Mm-hmm. And bring it over into a creative field, and vice versa, right? So actually, you're ahead of the game because you have the skills from both sides of the brain, which is awesome. So we had a question here. What was your goal and why did you move to Boston?
Yeah, Julie, it was for a personal reason. Actually, I came to this place to do my PhD years ago, and I decided now I'm going to go back to Turkey because I love my music and I miss my family. So I went back to Turkey. But then I met with my lifetime partner, and he was living in Boston, and it was either him coming to Turkey or me moving to Boston. And he's a very talented musician too, so I just had to compromise for.
Fair enough. And Boston's actually a really great place to be. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, now who knows what's happening with COVID, but there's a lot of really great institutions out there. That, you know, there's the Boston Modern Orchestra Project, there's Boston Lyric Opera, like there's all these things out there, right? So
yes, correct.
You're in the right place. You know?
Yeah, actually, New York is a good one too. We were hoping to move to New York too because I have relatives in New York. But then things started to happen in Boston, and we decided to stay in Boston.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, and Boston is, you know, what, 4 hours, you know, away. Yeah. So you can always come to New York, which is great.
I saw it too.
Julie says, I knew it, a guy.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you know.
But it worked out well.
Did it for love.
It worked out well. I don't regret about my decision.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about it.
That's wonderful. That's great. So now on to the transition from, you know, music and employee, right, from the practice to career coaching. How has that worked out, and what have you taken into the career coaching from your, other life, let's say? And I know that all of them still exist. It's just, how do you sort of integrate that?
Yeah, so again, I think I established my coaching practice with the inspiration of my life, but I have been following a lot of influencers and like mentors, like Dory Clark, that.
Sure.
So, but the core of my practice and coaching is about self-awareness, because I think it's really important to be aware of our strengths or our weaknesses, which I actually don't like to call them weaknesses. All skills can be improved if you are willing to do that. And then being experiential and being willing to take steps out of your comfort zone, which I had to do it multiple times. And I think nowadays it's called disruption. I think it was I wrote it somewhere. Whitney Johnson has that type of teaching. I'm trying to follow her too. So it's being willing to kind of shake things a little bit, not to be a slave of your fears, because it's really hard to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. But which I had to do it because I really pursued some sort of happiness and meaning in both careers. So I had to try different things. Since pharmacy was not the field that I was very passionate about, I wanted to find again a field in pharmacy that I would be happy and passionate about. That's why I did my PhD. And everyone thinks that pharmacists are just pill counters. Actually, we're not. We are working. We have different areas that we can work. So that's why I tried different things. I tried retail. I tried hospital pharmacy, pharma, and academia. But not everyone has to do that. It's just I didn't have the mentors maybe who can lead me to. So I was my own mentor, and I was just learning by myself.
Right.
Thus, in my coaching, I kind of encourage people to become self-aware of their, again, their passions or their interests, and to be a good observer of the field. And then also, I think, Marie, the key is perseverance and long-term effort. It's just, this is something that we use in science to trial-based, you have to try things to get to know if it's the right fit for you, unless you have a very clear idea about what you're going to do in your career. And the majority of people, they lack of it. And in time, I think the need for meaning and purpose is taking over the need for financial stability, even in many people's lives. So that's what I'm trying to do. Even before starting to create a strategy or even focusing on the goals, the first things are creating self-awareness, and then taking the responsibility of our lives and being bold enough to and being open to changes, and then also just being aware that this is a long-term run. It's not a sprint. I always say this to my clients, be prepared. Even after we are done with our program, because I usually have a program, even after we are done with that, you need to keep going. So it's your responsibility, your life.
I love that. And, so we know each other through Dory Clark's Recognized Expert community. Yeah. And, even Dory, she's got her creative side project, right? She did the BMI musical theater program. She just released her 10-minute original musical. So a lot of people with entrepreneurial instincts will do lots of things over time, right? And that's really cool, because now you have potentially 3 different revenue streams, right? You have what you've been doing with pharmaceuticals. You have the music, and the music is the kind of thing, right? Especially if you get into a royalty situation or a residual situation where you go outside and the check is in the mail because you already did the work and it's been used, right? Yeah. And then the career coaching. Well, that's your programs, that's your private coaching, that's, and the sky's the limit with those kinds of things, because you could be writing books, you could be doing podcasts, you could be doing whatever, right?
Yeah, maybe
So.
with your help in the future, Marie, because you're an expert in that field.
Well, one day. But so Manuel has a question, and this is great. So put in your questions in the chat. We do see the chat coming in. So he says, do you have any advice for someone who wants to be an independent music producer?
This is a great question, but I would like to also invite Marie to answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do my answer. Manuel, I believe that every musician nowadays is an independent music producer because the music companies are replaced with freelancer musicians. Even with my band, I mean, as a solo artist, my solo album was released by a major music company in Turkey. But after that, my band in Boston, we produced our two albums, and we had to take care of everything, the PR, organizing our tour, finding sponsors. So I don't know what type of advice that I could give to you, but I think you first need to know the field, or because music field is a very wide field. If you're are you a jazz musician? Are you a film composer, or a classical composer, or a rock musician, which I used to be a rock musician. So it's it depends again, what area that you're aiming to. Be prepared to do the majority of the work, because it's just, unfortunately, it's just everything is coming back to musicians' efforts nowadays. I don't know if it's some good advice or not, but
no,
yeah.
that's. I mean, I was going to say that, and I would second something there. I also do I do interviews weekly with theater professionals, and I've spoken to quite a few Broadway producers, and now we're talking about people who have supported Phantom of the Opera and Cats and Wicked and all these shows that are household names now, right? Hamilton, Tootsie, et cetera, right? And every single one of them that's been asked that question, and I know theater is a little bit different, but every single one of them has said, I started by seeing a show, hearing about a show that a friend was putting on, or something like that, and getting 10 people in the room to read it. And if you can do that, you're a producer. Mm-hmm. So, and these are people with multi-million-dollar businesses, right? The Broadway's $1 billion industry yearly. I mean, except for this year, of course. So if you can start at the granular level, just start. And even if it's just getting 4 of your friends in the room for $100 each, and recording something on your iPhone, you start there. You put it. It's easy today. You put it on Bandcamp, or you put it on SoundCloud. You put it out there, right? And that's really where to get started, I think. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, exactly. I think, again, it comes to the point that I think you need to take the lead in your music career as well, and especially in your music career nowadays, yeah. What is expected. So you don't need to wait. It's just you can create the product, and besides that, maybe you may need to learn some technical skills, because when we talk about music productions, are you going to be involved in the recording production too? Is it a live production? Again, it is kind of a very broad term in terms of when we talk about becoming a music producer. Mm-hmm, so what type of production you're going to do. So you may need to build those skills, but while you're building those skills, you can volunteer, or you can kind of
right.
Be involved in projects to learn those skills, or hire people to teach you.
Yeah, exactly. Julie Lynn asks, is a hobby the new side gig? What do you think?
I've been thinking about my life. It's just very recently, and I started in a very deep way. But I realized that I switch my hobbies into side gigs always, because I think I don't know how to take things easy. It's my personality.
Me
Um,
too. Me too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not a bad thing to want to do things in a good way or in a professional, like in a way. So music didn't start it as a hobby for sure. Like, and I really wanted to be an artist and musician. But coaching didn't start as a hobby as well. I mean, I had a hobby. Okay, let me put it this way. I had a hobby to go to trainings about like self improvement or mindfulness, and I love doing yoga and taking care of myself. But I think when you keep doing something as a hobby for long years, eventually you become a professional or like an author to be able to give people advice or like to support people in that field. I think that's what happened to me because seriously, I didn't have any like dream about like becoming a coach. Even like that was mentioned multiple times to me years ago. I was just thinking, no, I'll pass. I have too many things
Yeah.
going on already.
Yeah.
But now I felt like, okay, I'm pushed into this field and I feel like I'm successful with helping people. So I want to help people. So why not?
Yeah. I mean, I think, similarly, I think we're very much cut from the same cloth in that. Like, for me, I learned if I become really good at something and it's a hobby, I automatically start trying to look for ways to monetize it. I mean, like I started a podcast during COVID. I immediately started looking at how can I sell advertising? How can I, start to make this a part of my business, right? Like I think it's common nowadays, right? Because we have Etsy, we have, I mean, I don't sell a physical product, but anybody could go put their jewelry on Etsy or their artwork on Etsy or put their music on iTunes. It's so easy nowadays, and okay, so if you make a few bucks, fine, but that could grow.
And also another thing is when people think something as a hobby, I feel like they don't commit to do
Right.
it like for long term. But
Mhm.
when you like consider it kind of a side gig or business,
Yeah.
you really try to do your best. I don't know, like it depends on like what your expectations are again. And these side gigs are actually increasing our productivity in our like major work life for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's how it works for me mostly.
Yeah, Dory calls this thing, so she calls it 20% time, and she calls it little bets. So,
Oh,
like, for instance, the musical theater thing, right? That's a form of a small bet for her, right? Where, well, it's fun, right? She may not be making money from it now. Well, she's a Broadway investor, so she is. But like, she may not be making money from writing a show right now, but it's
yeah.
a small bet, and maybe in 10 years that'll pay off. Maybe 10 years, 5 years, a year. Like there are levels to that payoff. And I think if you go into a hobby, quote unquote, a hobby with that mindset, it becomes a side gig. Because if you're making money, it's the IRS considers it. Like.
Yeah.
I remember there's. Do you watch Grace and Frankie?
I'm still learning shows and
Okay,
it's
so
it's
there's
an
this.
American show.
So there's this show on Netflix. It's called Grace and Frankie. It's these two women. Their husbands leave them. It's Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. And Lily Tomlin's this crazy artist type. She's always like smoking pot, and she's always dressed in something weird. And her ex-husband had long ago bought one of her pieces of art and said that a famous musician, Kenny Loggins, bought it. And so that's been like her whole thing. Like for 25 years, she's been saying, yeah, Kenny Loggins bought my artwork, and she never sold another piece. And so they're cleaning out their house because they've gotten a divorce, and she finds the artwork, and she's like, I thought Kenny Loggins bought this. And he's like, well, I bought it,
Oh,
And so he's like, a paycheck doesn't make this a hobby. And she goes, tell that to the IRS. And like, so like once you start making money from something, technically it's an income stream, right? It's not a hobby anymore.
Yeah, and you build self-confidence, which is a
Yeah.
very important thing, like because now you're making money, so it means that you're good at it.
Yeah. Exactly. As long as you have one paying client, you have a business, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So other questions, other thoughts that are coming up for you guys as you hear this. I'm really excited to talk to another artist entrepreneur because I usually talk to one or the other, and of course you're both, and it's kind of exciting because we get to have both conversations at the same time.
Yeah, I
So
mean, we have very common stories, as you said, like in the backgrounds.
yeah.
And that's why I was like, this is our first conversation, by the way, guys. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to have this conversation.
Yeah, we've corresponded on Facebook Messenger just to set this up pretty much. So yeah, so what what's next for you? I mean, I know COVID is a big pivot for everybody, right? You mentioned having a band,
Mhm.
so I wonder how that's going during this time. Are you pivoting to more solo work? What's happening there?
So with my band, actually, we started to compose because since we're at home and like we cannot like actually we were booked for a tour, a jazz tour in Turkey, which was supposed to happen in April and then was postponed to September. Both were canceled. So we said that okay, let's just go back to the studio. We have a home studio, so
Hmm.
we are composing, and then I think we'll start rehearsing with the whole band, and then I think we'll like do some productions, and then we'll see. I mean, it's like the music industry is so in an ambiguity right now. You know that it's like everything's so vague. So we're just focusing on our creativity as musicians. In terms of coaching, I started to coach in a coaching company very recently, a month ago, in addition to my business. So I'm coaching to pharmacists and Happy Pharmacy company. But I am also, I think this is something that Dory um, recommends. I am trying to explore the different aspects of coaching. And
Yeah.
I'm still kind of, again, like I just started to do coaching and I enjoy it very much. When I say just, it's like, it has been like an professionally a year, I would say.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think I'm also trying to find my place in coaching, and I'm learning all different aspects of coaching and um, getting in touch with new people, building relationships with different entrepreneurs in the field. And I think that's the best part of it. I really enjoy uh, getting to know new people and their stories. It's very inspiring. That's another thing that just triggers me in my coaching practice that I should keep going because it has been such a journey, and the people that I have started to know since I started is like so valuable. I started to have my own community of
Yeah.
support and our, RX group. I say RX because it comes from like pharmacist and RX group. I'm confused about those
The
two
RX
names.
group.
Yeah, I should tell this to Dory maybe, but like, yeah, Rex Group is like community is so supportive and very inspiring. Everyone is so talented, and
Yeah.
you all have great ideas. But I also am pursuing to learn more about again how I can improve my coaching and or how I can create some change, and especially in the healthcare field because
Yeah.
believe it or not, healthcare is a very tough field, and I really want to help people, healthcare professionals in the field who are suffering from the stress or so many
Yeah.
again the tough conditions, the work conditions. Yeah, so that's what I'm at right now.
I love that. So we have a question here. It's a two-parter, and I actually think the second part is probably a good question to start with, which is what makes a good partnership. And I think I'm interested in this question both as an entrepreneur, right? And as a single business entrepreneur, or how do you do it there, and also in the arts, You know, because I know I've had great partnerships. I've also had really, really bad partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Especially as an artist, because that's like a marriage, so I'm curious what you have to say about that as well.
That's such a good question. Julie, you have really great questions. Thanks for the questions. But I think a good partnership starts with a match of values. That's what I observed and experienced in my life. For example, the trust is very important for me. Like, the value to be able to trust to the other person is very important. And I know that even most recently I had this partnership opportunity, and then it comes to the point to sign contracts, or are we trusting each other, like to share yeah, each other the ideas that we have. So I think it starts with, again, matching the values, and at that level, trust is a very important one for me. And then I believe again, the match of the souls and the heart. I'm kind of a I don't know, spiritual person or a romantic person. So it's the work matters a lot, but when you feel like there's a match with the other person, and then it becomes more productive, and because the work really matters, which means that the work that you're going to create will bring meaning to your life. So I think those are really important criteria, and those are the most important things about partnership in both music and in business.
I love that. I would add one thing that I've found is really important, and I've only come to think of it this way after a lot of different collaborations. It's the ability to disagree, and disagree well, and always disagree in service of the work, and not just because, and also when disagreements happen, because they do happen. I'm currently living with my two writing partners, right? And we live in a house together, and we also, we're very lucky. We also write together, and yeah, we disagree about things. We disagree about, who we're hiring, about the creativity. Under no circumstance, when you start to disagree about something, that's very, very telling, right? And so there should never be any disrespect. There should never be any name calling, right? It doesn't then taint the relationship when you start to have creative dissonance or cognitive dissonance, right? So
Yeah.
that, to me, that's always really important. And musicians and entrepreneurs are they're passionate people. So that's easier said than done a lot of the times, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's what I look for in a great partnership, is that we can disagree. And
Peacefully, and to create
right.
a safe environment for each other while you're collaborating. I think you actually nailed a great point. So not being judgmental and being willing to communicate and solve problems, yes, is a very important one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I think feeling safe with your partner when you are when you're sharing your honest opinion, that you will know that you will be heard and you will not be judged. That's an important one. Yes.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and in terms of working together, I mean, every collaboration is different. Every partnership is different. What do you look for in a great partner, whether it's in your music or in your entrepreneurship?
With my entrepreneurship, I haven't started to look for partners yet, to be honest. But in my music, I partnered with numbers of musicians, and I co-wrote songs. And I think, again, as you said, musicians are spiritual people, and they're passionate. And I feel like there's this type of um, harmony that cannot be named even. You kind of sense it, but it's kind of an intangible thing. It's an intangible feeling that you are not able to name it. But I also, what I look as tangible would be I look for men or women of their own words. When people they say something, I expect them to commit to their words, and expect them to show up and to do the hard work, not just to talk about ideas and not execute, be willing to actually put the effort. And that's, again, I think that goes back to the trust value, just to, I like to see actions, not just the words, so that's a important one. And you kind of sense it in the early stage, because in early stage of creation, there's no big commitments. It's just, your ideas. And then you start to see if that person is dependable, and if it's if she is willing to put the effort, even even it's gonna lead to somewhere or not still. So that's a major one for me. When I think about it.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, especially as artists, because a lot of what we do is self-directed, right? Like, nobody cares if we don't put out the next album, right? Mm-hmm. Except for us, unless we actually do it. And we could sit on that for 5 years, right? and talk about it and redo it, or just talk about it, right? And not get anything done. And so I agree with you there that, actually starting to put your ideas into action is another thing to look for, and to make space for it, because, at the beginning stages, you don't get paid to start writing, especially if you're an independent artist, nobody's paying you for the next song, right? You have to put it out there and then start to, try to get paid for it. So
yeah, that's what happened to me in my first album. I had songs, but and I was looking for a producer, and then each time I was struggling because I had lack of budget, because it's just, to be able to work with big music companies, you kind of either have a budget or other things that I don't know. But I found a producer who believed in my songs, and in the beginning he put just all of his efforts, and he was very disciplined. But after we released the album, we were able to collect the royalties, and I gave him a big share, because I was grateful for his efforts in the beginning, without just not questioning the budget that we had. So it's again, as I said, in early stages, it's about believing in the work, but showing up and being and just being committed to it with your actions, not just your words.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Any other questions coming in for us? And this has been a great conversation. This has been kind of a nice bridging of the gap of both of our two worlds. So wonderful. Yeah. How can people get in touch with you?
So my website is www.drartun.com. And
Doctor spelled out?
Yeah, Dr. Artun, my last name.
.com?
drartun.com. It's my website, but I am very active on LinkedIn too, so anyone can add me on LinkedIn, and then I'll definitely try to help them, or stay in touch with them.
Awesome. Yeah. So for those of you watching now, and for those of you watching later, if you enjoyed this, please give us the little thumbs up, or some love in the comments. And I'm really grateful that you joined me today, and hopefully we'll have you back and we'll talk about some other stuff
sure,
at some point. And thank you to those of you that are watching now, and to those of you that are going to watch later, and have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Actually, on Monday we have Corey Blake with Roundtable Companies, and we're going to be talking about the entrepreneurial operating system. So that'll be fun. That'll be at noon, so join us then. Do you have any parting words for our audience?
Oh, I wasn't prepared for that, but yeah, please enjoy your life and enjoy your weekend. This is Friday. Happy Friday, everyone.